work is ingenious. It's quality work. And there are simply too many notes. That's all. Just cut a few and it'll be perfect.
Alright, so here we are. We are just taking a quick break, walk down the street to take a look at the old coal train that's up here in the mountains. And yeah, so we are in session, up currently about 500 from starting stack. We've played a couple of hands that have some interesting concepts to them, so just quickly to go into those hands and what they are. There was a spot from a couple limpers, and then from middle position, I go ahead and open to 21 as an isolation to the limpers. I open that with ace-queen suited. We get a shove from behind for 36, just a guy who's got a couple chips, and then the big blind goes ahead and kind of stares down. I think he actually wanted to re-isolate in that exact spot, but it was something where I have a pretty fair number of chips in front of me, and I cover him, so not something that I think he wanted to do. I think he just wants to take a flop, which he obviously does. He goes ahead and makes the call in that spot, and everyone goes ahead and sees a flop. Flop comes out queen, rag, rag, but there are two hearts on the actual board, so my exact hand makes top with one player all in behind. Now, the big blind player goes ahead and actually leads out for 25 in this spot. So, you know, I go ahead and just basically make the smooth call. I've got top, nothing to really worry about. Let's go ahead and go to a turn card and see what we can see. We go ahead and when the turn card comes off, I don't remember the exact card, but it was not a heart, and it was basically a rag. It did not complete anything that would make any sort of a straight, or really even give very many draws. The button player, excuse me, the big blind player goes ahead and leads out for 50. And in this spot, you know, I'm just kind of trying to think, what is this player up to? What is he doing? So on and so forth. And really what I want to do is create a spot of leverage, or I decide to take it as a spot to create leverage against, and I go ahead and raise cap to 150. So it's 100 for him to call on this spot, just in case he does have a worse queen, or he is on a draw. Making it 150. He only has a total of 150. 100 for him to call. He only has 146 or so left behind, and he decides to go ahead and just make the call in that spot. The river is a jack, and I do something that's out of line even before the river comes off. I go ahead and just put out 100 in chips, which is the cap for that street, and of course I cover him. So basically just putting them all in out of position. I get reminded by the dealer that is not allowed, but of course kind of is what it is. So he goes ahead and puts his chips in, and obviously the jack gives him two pair, and he's good for the entirety of the pot. So that being said, he scoops there. He had only his jack outs to go ahead and to scoop. You know, he didn't even have hearts. I'm not sure if he had one heart as a blocker, so to speak, but I think the problem there is, you know, he was seeing something that I don't necessarily think existed. Case in point, I could be calling with hearts in that spot. You know, very likely would. But just as well, I don't think he could have cut and release in a certain spot when he gets raised. Otherwise, we play another one later where we go ahead and he opens up, this exact player opens up from early position, opens up to 15. I go ahead and make the call. There's a very competent, very nice lady from behind that goes ahead and makes it 45. He goes ahead and completes to 45, and then I go ahead and complete to the 45 as well too, and then we go off to see a flop. As justification for that, I've been doing some work with Pio and taking a look at how well-constructed ranges. I'll wait till the actual bus passes as it's going by here. So in PioSolver, I've been taking a look at how well-constructed ranges respond to each other when the pot is bloated, and it's amazing the number of combinations that it goes ahead and calls with or completes with when there's just extra dead money in the pot, even in a spot where you are range dominated, so to speak. So I haven't fully internalized that. I think it could be a potential leak, so I have to be very careful about that. But that being said, and I can show that in a later video, but I do go ahead and complete to the 45, so we go off to see the flop. The board is super low. It's like all lower than a 6 with 2 diamonds on it. And that being said, so I now have two overs with 2 diamonds to go. So I've got a flush draw with overs. The player that I was describing, he goes ahead and makes it 100, which is the cap bet that he can lead out for. I go ahead and decide to take it as a spot of leverage here, because I think he could be doing this with a wide variety of hands that he would call with. You know, certainly even worse diamond draws, pairs, you know, ace X overs. And, you know, I certainly have equity in my hand there, so I go ahead and take it as a spot to capitalize on the equity that I do have, and again, create a spot of leverage. That being said, he goes ahead and makes the call. When I go to raise to 200, he makes the call, so there's 200 for each of us goes in on that street. The next card that comes off is a blank. It is still super low. It really should not hit too many of our pair combinations that don't already have pairs. It goes check, check. And the reason I actually check from there and don't decide to go ahead and make a bet there, I created a spot of leverage, and it went ahead and it was completed in a certain sense. You know, he basically called there. So I think I'm basically looking to you know, actualize the equity that I do have in the hand. And after going check, check, the river card comes off a diamond. It does pair the board. It was actually the 4 of diamonds. It does pair the board, and I'm really not worried about too many full house combinations. I think I would have either got re-raised or he might have led. You know, that being said, he does not lead there on the river for that exact street. I go ahead and actually bet 75. I choose that sizing because he's used that sizing for value and bluff before, so I think he'll be indifferent to that sizing. I think he'll just be looking to bluff catch, because that's really what I'm taking the actual you know, the call here, you know, kind of how I'm taking his action from the turn. I should say that he's looking to just realize, again, kind of in the same way that I am. You know, we're just going to take a river, and we're just going to see what happens and what the action is there. We're just going to kind of let the hand play itself in that spot. So that being said, you know, I go ahead and make diamonds. Diamonds good. He flashes queens, so we kind of smash it there. So on and so forth. So that being said, we basically kind of trade chips in some pretty reasonable pots. But we've chipped up all the way through, playing good, you know, running good, found some good spots, and likewise as well too. You know, looking and listening and watching some of the Solve for Why TV, you know, Academy videos. You know, I really like some of the content they've put out. It's really helped me clarify how I'm thinking about hands. Now, I do know that I have not fully internalized all the concepts that they're laying out, but when we talk about capitalization, you know, realization, creating leverage or having leverage in hands, and kind of how that leverage flows, it really starts to make sense to me. So I definitely feel it's kind of a step up in my game with respect to post-flop activities, and kind of enhances my play in a way that the GTO solvers might not necessarily do, or kind of gives me a parallel path to internalize those specific concepts. So that being said, that's our update, and yeah, we're just going to go ahead and walk back up the hill, jump back in the game, and hopefully continue to run good, play good, and do all those good things. So good luck us, and away we go. All right. You know, we went ahead and with our $500 above starting stack that we talked about in kind of last break, we had a button, we had a person on the button open, and went ahead and just basically opened for 20 against a series of limpers. We looked down at ace king in the small blind. We jammed them all in for a cap 112, something like that. They're pretty short, so we end up, he ends up showing queens, we take the flip and just lose the flip. Kind of is what it is. The other thing that, let's see here, a little later, the other thing that went on is we open up jacks from early position. We get a person from later position that basically just made the same move, just jammed all in for effectively that. I think the total jammed all in for like 145-ish for their stack, so 290 was the total pot, kind of total pot geometry there. That being said, they showed ace queen. You know, and it just took a flip there, and we actually held there. So won some there, and then again through a whole series of hands, chipped back up. What was interesting to note about the person that went ahead and jammed on ace queen, I think their profile falls into the kind of the the descriptor of trying really hard. You know, basically straddling every opportunity from under the gun. You know, raising, betting. You know, basically second pairs. And not that I haven't done those things too, but I don't think there's a strategy behind it. I think it's just pile, 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 bet, bet, bet. Make a hand, find somebody's felting range, and hopefully get them to the felt. You know, or get them to fold. So I don't view that, obviously, that as a winning strategy. You know, again, not that I don't take the same tactical maneuvers, but I think it's nuanced a little bit further in a strategy that hopefully is, you know, more winning in a long-term capacity. So that being said, we are up. We continue to be up and just taking a little break. The cold that I've kind of been battling this week is kind of, you know, kind of hitting me a little bit. So we'll see how we do. I don't know how much longer we'll play, but yeah, we'll just take a stroll, dive back in, and yeah, get back at it. So good luck us, and go get some more. All right. All right, well, update from the car, or update heading to the car at the garage. Kind of looking down on town. Not too busy. It looks kind of neat. Looks kind of nice. So yeah, pretty neat area. Anyhow, walked back and sat in the game for just a few minutes, but just did not have the heart or the wherewithal just to stay in game any further and continue to do battle. So anyhow, we just racked up the exact count: in for 5, out for 1237 over the course of just a hair over 6 hours. So I'll let you do the math on that in terms of what an hourly might be. And yeah, otherwise really good. Maybe the takeaway there is just when you're not feeling it either in game or feeling it health-wise, just best to get out and move on and just do other things. And that's probably where I'm at right now. Hopefully voice is recording okay and all that kind of stuff, because I feel kind of stopped up, and like I said, that cold is just kind of wearing down on me after kind of a longer day with a lot of stuff that went on beforehand. So anyhow, that'll be it. That's the session. Hopefully a couple things worthwhile, and yeah, maybe dump some stuff into Pio or kind of a post view, and just go from there. So that's it. All right, do it next time. Hey, Vegas in a couple days. Looking forward to it. Good. Bye.